Good day and good evening, everyone. Today we will be discussing a real use case of one of our users and one of our customers, Mr. Christophe de Wind, who is an investigator within the Federal Judicial Police of Belgium on countering global money laundering. So yes, just a few words about us for those of you who weren't familiar with us previously. SocialLynx is a global open source intelligence tool developer based in the US. With our AI-powered products, we empower investigators and security professionals to achieve their objectives every day. Among our customers, we have companies from the S&P 500s and law enforcement agencies from 50+ countries around the globe. We were in the markets since 2015. Currently, we have 80+ employees, and as mentioned previously, the headquarters is in the United States. So in terms of the data sources that we have, we're using more than 500 different ones at the moment. Those include social media, some of the most popular messengers, dark web, more specifically the Tor network, corporate registries, such as Open Corporates, Companies House, and offshore leagues, which could also be called that, and a number of cryptocurrency blockchains. So now I will be passing the word to Christophe. He will tell you about quite an interesting real case from his practice. So Christophe, word to you.
Hello, thank you, Ivan. So hi, my name is Christophe de Wind. I am a digital investigator for the Federal Judicial Police in Brussels, in Belgium. I was asked if I would be willing to explain a case that we solved with the use of SocialLynx. And for this case, I have been given permission to give this presentation. The case itself, it is a real investigation that we did a few years ago, but everything from the names, the photos and profiles that are used in this presentation are fictitious. So I had to change all the names and all the profiles. So this investigation, it is about an African gang of scammers who launder their criminal income from internet scams through Belgian bank accounts. This gang has been active from between 2015 and 2018, and in total more than 2 million euros were transferred from Belgian accounts to accounts in Africa and elsewhere in the world. So to start, in December of 2018, 3 holders of used Belgian bank accounts were arrested by the Federal Judicial Police. I have given them these fictitious names, Melle, Nelson, and Edwin. So after their arrest, their homes were searched and they were questioned about their involvements in these facts. So Melle then claimed that he worked for Walter, and he showed us a false identity card in the name of Walter. Melle and Edwin both claimed that they were brought into contact with their client by Mike A, who was a manager of an African restaurant situated in Brussels. Mike A was also said to be active, participating in the money laundering. Mike A then, in turn, who was also questioned, claimed that he was asked to look for people who wanted their accounts to be used by a Nigerian called Wasi. He was said to be between 40 and 50 years old, and well, he gave us a short description of Wasi. And what is important for the the end of the investigation that he said that he was also from the area of Madrid, such as Mike A himself. So after questioning, Mike A declared that he was terrified of reprisals. He knows a number of people who, together with Edwin, enrich themselves with internet scams, including advanced sales without delivery of soft drinks, Red Bull, for example. And they do that through fake websites and so-called pre-sale sales of pets. That was one of the other scams that they did. So he did not want to explain anything officially on paper, but he gave us some information about those involved who sometimes came to celebrate their successes in his restaurant. So this is still the situation. So he gave us 3 nicknames and descriptions of those 3 persons who came to celebrate their successes in his restaurant. And our primary goal was to identify Walter, Wassi, P. Mike, Jingles, and Extra Rain. And the secondary goal was to show that they were all connected. So here we go, identification of Walter Wassi, P. Mike, Jingles, and Extra Rain. And our next goal was to find links between them and to the restaurant. We were also asked to look for signs of unexplained wealth. So all traditional search methods had failed to give results, and then the lead investigator wanted to try through OSINT and SOCMINT techniques. So that's where my team and I were involved in this investigation. My first step, here comes the more practical side of the story. So my first step is always to list all the available information and then put it into Maltego, as you will see in this next slide. So we had the IDs of Mike, Melle, Nelson, and Edwin. Those were known persons. We also had their addresses here in Belgium. And for 2 of those persons, we also had a phone number. And you also see on the right, you see the persons that we need to identify. So then my second step is to use different transforms of social links on the known data, then repeat these steps on the given results, and then start analyzing this information. So here you see the same slide as before, only in a different layout, and I did my first 2 steps on the known phone numbers. So I did the all transforms transform on these 2 phone numbers. I could have also done the search in main social networks and messengers, because that's one that works very well most of the time. So this transform gave me the following results. It gave me a WhatsApp account on Melle and a the second on the second phone number I got a Facebook account, a Snapchat account, and a Skype account. So next was to identify and go and search for the Facebook account, which was given by social links. And the one you see on the right for Melle, that was a Facebook account that we could easily find ourselves without the use of Maltego or social links. I see in the chat, how can you verify that the account was actually legit? Well, then we go and take a look at the Facebook account. That's what we always do, and then check if we have the right account. If we have an account that gives us enough information to prove that it is actually a Facebook account of Nelson in this case. So we also did a transform on the Skype that gave us a partial email address and a partial other phone number, but we did not work on this. We did not go further with this. So our next step, we have two Facebook accounts that we had verified ourselves by going to Facebook and that look to be the right Facebook accounts of these two individuals. And then we did the get hidden and visible friends transform on both of these Facebook accounts. That gave us the next slide. So here you can see that this transform resulted in approximately 3,900 friends linked to Nelson's profile and approximately 1,200 friends linked to Melis' profile. What is also very interesting about using this tool is that the program itself shows the common profiles. So the profiles that our friends are connected to both of our primary Facebook accounts. In this case, there are 4 mutual friends, but none of these 4 profiles seem to belong to the other persons that we needed to find for our case. So what we did then is to search through the other 5,100 profiles through the manual search function built in Maltego. As you see here, we went searching for Abongo, one of the other known persons, and we were easily in this way we were easily able to find the profiles of Mike A and Edwin. Then I repeated here you see that, and then I repeated the get hidden and visible friends transform from social links for their friends. So let's see where they are. Here they are. Here you have Mike and Edwin, and here you see that I repeated the transform of get hidden and visible friends. Here you go. Here we see that result, and then I repeated the manual search function to find Wasi, for example. And what I encountered next was that there were multiple profiles that might belong to Wasi. So what I did then is I copied these 5 profiles to the next field in Maltego, and I did the get locations transform on all of these 5 profiles to see if any one of them could be located in Madrid, because we knew that the Wasi that we were looking for had a connection with Madrid. So here you see that we found one profile that has a connection with Madrid and also with Cameroon in this case, which is also interesting because we were searching for a Cameroonian person. So my next step is then to copy and link the profile of Wasi manually to my unidentified person. And then once we have identified his Facebook profile, then we go searching manually on this Facebook profile to see if we can find anything that could help us identify him in a national register, or to help us give us more information to maybe send a court order to Spain to help us find him there. So we repeated the steps again on Wasi and Walter, who we had found. Walter, we found a similar way as Wasi, until we get the whole picture, the whole graph, where we see all the connections between the different persons. So Wasi, in the end, was identified as he used his real last name in the URL of his Facebook profile. Since we knew where he lived, we could then easily find him in the national register. The same was done for Jingles. We never found a Facebook profile for Walter, but he was then identified because of a link with one of the other suspects in the national registry. And P-Mike didn't seem to have any registration in our national registry. So here you see that we have repeated these steps until we had identified most of the Facebook profiles. So this I already explained. Wasi was identified as he used his real name, his real last name in the URL. And since we knew where he lived, we could easily find him. Same was done for Jingles, and we could never find a Facebook profile of Walter. P-Mike didn't seem to have a registration in our national registry. So in this phase of the case, some suspects were identified based on information from open sources. In the next phase, we cleaned up the whole graph to present it to the main investigator in order to show the links between the different suspects. And then we also concentrated more on P-Mike, since his Facebook profile showed that he made visits to Brussels, Dubai, and he also showed some pictures of him driving expensive cars and wearing luxury watches and so on. So this is what we called the cleaned up graph that we present to the lead investigator. It's not so clear in this presentation, but the investigator could then zoom in and could see everything on this graph. It also showed the different Facebook profiles of different persons and how they were connected, how many friends they had in common. And then P-Mike, we tried some transforms to get more details about him. In this case, we did get details. It showed us some information, but it also gave us one very important piece of information, which was his whole phone number. Then we also searched for his profile on other networks. That is a transform that is available in social links. And we could find him. Yeah, it's not in the slides, but we could find his Instagram profile too. And there on his Instagram profile, there were lots of pictures of him showing off with expensive cars or showing off with his hotel that he claimed to own in Cameroon, and of him drinking champagne in luxury bars. In the final phase, President Mike was then identified and arrested in Spain, and some of his belongings were found and confiscated. So, to sum up this investigation, although this criminal investigation it lasted about a year, the OSINT part that was requested at various times was always completed within a few days. The OSINT investigation was also decisive for the outcome of this case and has led to some crucial breakthroughs. Some people were actually not identified before the OSINT investigation, and we were able to identify them. And it is also thanks to the social links plugin that the OSINT investigation could be completed quickly each time. Without this tool, I think it would have taken at least twice as long to find all the information, or it would not have been found at all. I see that some persons do not see the slides. I hope that most of the people saw the slides. I went maybe a bit too quick through it. I hope it was clear, and if it was not clear, please tell me in the chat. Then I will try to explain some slides better, because speaking to myself, it is my first time, so without interaction. Okay, I see that people have appreciated the presentation and that it was clear. I hope my English was good enough.
Yes, certainly. That was very interesting, Christoph. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it went a bit faster than I had expected. It was a bit. I feel like I went through it like a super speed train, but I hope it was clear.
Yes, it was very clear and very precise. So we can see some pretty good feedback in the chat. In case anybody wants to ask, yes, the recording will be available by request on our website. So yes, also there.
Oh, there's maybe an interesting question: how a beginner can get hands on it. Well, for me, maybe I should have explained that earlier, but I started using this tool mid 2018, and it was well, I got a hands on it in a few weeks. I did not follow any course or anything in the beginning, and it was very clear, very easy to use. So yeah, I hope that was a good answer to that question.
Also, there seemed to be a question. What would the additional sources be? Yes, what other resources do you recommend for OSINT financial investigations internationally?
What other resources?
Yes.
Well, we use police techniques, of course, by sending court orders. In this case, by manually looking through bank accounts and sending court orders to different countries in this international scam. But that was not done by me. This was not my part of this investigation. Of course, it has been done, That's why this investigation lasted more than 1 year. But I was only in charge of the OSINT part of it. Yeah.
And there's a question that what were the dominant social media platforms? So
For this case, it was Facebook. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
We are talking about a case that, well, they were active between 2015 and 2018. At that time, it was mainly Facebook who was the biggest player. If we would have to do the same investigation now, I think other platforms would come up too. But at that time, it was Facebook.
Okay. So I think we can start a brief survey now.
Yeah.
So yes, there are just 3 questions. What did you think of this webinar, whether it was useful, okay, or you didn't learn anything new? I assume that for most of the people, it would be considered useful, of course. Would you like to have a demo of SL Professional to see how it can help you in your work? And does your company have a dedicated budget for purchasing an OSINT solution this year?
So for one of the questions, is the diagram made in Maltego? Yes. So everything,
Also,
everything was done in Maltego with social links.
Does the owner of the profile see that you are looking at his profile like in LinkedIn? No, that is taken care of on our part.
Yeah, when we manually go, we have our own profiles to do investigation. And then when we manually go and take a look at a profile, yes, it is possible, of course. But through, you answered the question right, through only using social links. But as I explained earlier, we also did some manual searches. We looked at the profiles manually, at the real profiles. For this, we use our own investigative profiles, so they might come up. Yeah. Is it possible to trace phone numbers, email? I think that's more a question for you, Ivan.
Without Maltego, well, if what you mean is it possible to use social links without Maltego, then at the moment the answer would be yes, if you are using IT Analyst Notebook.
Yeah.
If you would be asking about other ways, then yes, there is a multitude of different sources and tools that are available. For everybody that has questions about social links specifically, we would gladly schedule a private demo with you so we can talk more specifically about the use cases that you have and how it can be applied to those. So yes, there's also a question whether social links can get data from locked accounts on Facebook or only public accounts. Yeah, Jafar, to answer your question, there would be a limitation. So of course, we wouldn't get as much data from a locked account as from a public one. But in case of a public account existing, this still leaves the options of, well, what do we have with a public account? We have a Facebook ID, we have a profile image, and we have a name or a username. So those are also potential pivot points for using facial recognition to find accounts of this individual on other platforms where they may not be locked potentially, or using reverse image searches, or querying databases, or pivoting from an alias to also see if the individual is present on other platforms.
To answer the question of Emmanuel Didier, yes, I think it would be, you can use the same techniques to track users of social media who were trafficking women to sell them as sex slaves. It it won't work with only these techniques. You would have to use more than only this technique, but it is a very powerful tool to use as well for your investigation.
Yes, thank you, Christoph. And there's also a question here: what are the sources of Maltego database? So if I ask to answer that, Maltego is not a database. It is a graph analysis interface that has many different data providers plugged in the partner hub, including social links. And we have, for the most part, had an accent on SOCMINT, social media intelligence. So as you have seen in Christoph's presentation, the absolute majority of the data had to do with social media and specifically Facebook accounts. Yes, so Arkady is saying that in the same context, it would be useful to see a presentation on the investigation of the beneficial owners of illegal assets. And if a suspect didn't have social media, how else could OSINT be used in an investigation? There could be different ways. It's possible to work with individual digital identifiers, such as phone numbers or email addresses. And it also depends on what exactly you mean by social media. There are online platforms such as, well, GitHub, for instance, that couldn't be considered a social media platform, but it does have a social networking element. And the same can be said, for instance, about the Telegram Messenger. And those are also sources from which you can sometimes extract useful information and correlate it with the other information that you have.
Yeah, and also maybe your suspect doesn't have social media, but one of his close friends or his relatives will have social media, and maybe this way you can find valuable information about your suspect. If you don't know how he looks like, maybe there's a photo of him on one of his friends' profiles. So yes, can be interesting.
Yes, and also you've mentioned using police techniques and specifically national databases, if I understood that correctly. A similar thing, although, well, that wouldn't be open source, but also another kind of sources where you can find information about a person of interest or a group of individuals is corporate registries. Well, there is something like a company's house in most European countries. There are different registries in countries across the globe. There is also a source called Open Corporates available within SL Pro as well.
Is it possible to delete all data on Facebook and Twitter? It is maybe possible, but very hard. They have specialized in not deleting all the data. And yes, of course, if someone has made a copy of the data or big mass data, it is always stored somewhere. So never really possible to delete everything.
Yes, and there's also a question here: what is the main function of a transform in Maltego? So for those of the attendees that aren't familiar with this platform, transforms are methods that provide a connection between one piece of information and another piece of information. if it is there on the source. That is what we do. On a more concrete level, those are small pieces of code that run to fetch specific data from the source that you are querying. Yes, and as one of the attendees is saying, you cannot delete anything from the internet, clearly, with 100% certainty. Yes,
yeah.
Christoph, please.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So yes, just reminding before we end the webinar, which will most likely be in a few minutes, so we'll answer a few more questions, that there is still a survey, and if you would be interested, then please take part in it. Christoph, you were beginning to answer a question, I believe.
No, it was, I think, but it's more your department. Somebody asked if it is a free tool, but no.
No. What Christoph was using in his investigation is not free.
So, yeah.
Yes, the SL tool does mask the identity of the investigator. The user is safe in that respect. We take a number of OPSEC measures for that.
What are various other OSINT tools useful for investigation? Oh, there are dozens, no, hundreds, thousands of tools online, but none of them is as complete as a social link is in one tool. Yeah.
That's very great to hear from you, Christoph. So actually, yes, it could be said that while we do have an accent on social media, and especially on the mainstream social media, we still plug in other categories of sources and other methods of working with the data from those sources, including facial recognition, hate speech detection, natural language processing, EXIF data extraction, reverse image searches, and so on.
Yep. So yes, there are a lot of other tools, yes, but well, in combination with Maltego, I really like the ease of using social links. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yes, just a reminder for anybody, if you would want to have access to this presentation, it would be accessible by a request on our website. And if you would be interested in getting to know what we have to offer, so specifically the kinds of features that Christoph has used in this investigation that he described, which was quite.
Oh, sorry, you fell. The last part was missing, Ivan.
Oh, yes. So if you'd like to see the capabilities of what Christoph was using, I mean the kind of functionality that we're offering, then you can book a private meeting with us, and we'll talk more specifically, more tailored to your use case.
Yeah.
So yes, I think we would be ending the event now. Thank you very much, Christoph. This was wonderful. It's great to have you as our customer, and it's great to have you at this webinar. This was very interesting, even for me personally, to listen to this.
Okay, that's for me. It's my daily routine. So sometimes it is it seems obvious for me, but I'm very happy to hear that a lot of people found it interesting to see how we worked around this case. So you're very welcome.
Certainly. And thank you everybody else for attending. We wish you a good remainder of the day. Thank you very much, people.